All right. As I started to talk about this, we did something like this in September, and we had 5 or 6 guys that did this, and we just kind of opened up. We didn't know how it was going to go, where it was going to go, but it ended up being pretty good. Unfortunately, 2 of the people that were there in that group, Bill Bailey and Jack Roebuck, are no longer with us. So I'm glad that we got to capture them in that. So anyhow, what I'd like to do is let's go down the line. I just want you guys to introduce yourself, and we'll start with you, Richard.
Little Al Dudra.
He's right, he's little.
Okay.
Bob Zueck.
Cotton spinner.
Kasha, Havrilka.
Pistol Stolik.
Butch Jones.
Larry Epley.
Denny Pastor.
DB.
The Duke. Okay, so I don't know which one of you guys want to go first, but has anybody got? You started talking, Richard, about a 17-inning affair, softball game that you guys played at one point or another.
We won 2 of them.
You won 2 of them. And you were blaming Cotton for wrecking one of them or something.
One of them, I know, but I don't remember the second one. But I know we had 17 in the zip game.
Where were some of the places you guys played in Pana? I mean, where were the locations of the ballparks?
Kitchell Park, Dutch Mill.
Out at Dutch Mill. Did you guys, any of you guys ever play at the Milo Field or whatever it was, which is Tanner Park, and the drive-in theater grounds? None of you guys ever.
That was way after us.
Okay. Way before you mean?
No, Tanner came after us.
Oh, Tanner came after you guys. Wow.
Way after us.
Wow.
We're really old.
Hey, just don't ask us what we have
These
to
2 guys are
do.
older than
Remember, this is 70s and 80s guys here.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I was thinking that's right, because Tanner Park was, or Tanner Drive-In Theater Grounds was in 1959 is when it was actually made into a theater. So, Cotton, do you have any stories that you want to talk about?
I got a lot of them.
Okay. Why don't you start us off with one?
I don't know how much time I got, but it's gonna take a while.
Okay, that's fine.
Right ahead.
You want me to stand up?
Let me go first, because I gotta do it. I got
Okay,
family.
go right ahead.
Okay, Bob, you're going to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. What?
This is back 65 or more years ago, so I can't remember a lot of stuff. I remember going to the state tournament, and I think it was at Mohammed, Illinois. Giffin was pitching, and they had a picket fence around the outfield for wall,
Is this softball?
softball.
softball.
And I think he had a no-hitter going until the 8th inning. Guy hit a home run, beat us 1-0. And there was other games, but I mean, these guys was the hitters. I wasn't the hitter, I was an outfielder.
And you're a transplant too, aren't you?
What is it?
You're a transplant here too. You're from Nokomis.
Yes.
We won't say that too loud, because it's not, this is a Pana video, not Nokomis video.
We played baseball out at Dutch Mill, and that's when Skinny Spinner was catching for Pana. I was playing for Nokomis, baseball,
Your brother too, wasn't he?
and my brother both.
You know, your brother played too.
Yes.
You guys touched upon, you mentioned Lee Giffin and
Yes.
him pitching, and of course when I grew up, Lee was at the end of his career, but I know one of the softball teams I played on, he came out and pitched for us one night, and he said, hey, you take care of anything on the ground in front of me, you're going to have to take care of, because I'm not going to go and get it. But he still could whistle the ball. Can you talk about what made Lee so good? Or
What made Lee so good, he could throw behind his back and throw a strike, or between his legs and still throw a strike.
Yeah, he used to warm up from second base.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was tough.
He used to get back to second base and throw strikes across the plate,
Yep.
warming up.
He could throw it behind his back, throw it over the plate, or between his legs, throw it over the plate.
In fact, he threw the ball behind his back sometimes in games.
In the game.
And the umpire never caught him, and they actually called a strike.
Uh-oh, look out, we gotta wait.
oh, that's right, Larry's in here. Come on in, Larry.
6, 7, 8.
There's Larry
Hey, you
Smith.
need your ninth man.
Yes, we do.
That's right.
Who's that?
Come here.
It's about 8 minutes.
Birthday kid.
Wait,
All right.
you're only 8 minutes late, you're early.
Hello.
He used to go after his girlfriend, if he was an hour late, he was early.
And our late arrival is,
You're lying now.
late arrival is Larry Spinner, so glad you joined us, Larry. That gives us 8 or 9 guys here today. This is great showing. Okay, but we just got off the subject about talking about Lee Giffin, and we'll move on to Cotton. You got any? You said you got a lot of stories, so
Yes, I do.
you may be here a while. That's all right.
First one is on the 17th inning game. We had a stand full of people when we started. In the 17th inning, there was nobody there. Pete Slater, you know how loud he was, right? I come walking up to the plate and he says, "All right, you flat hammer, do something." That's when I hit the ball. That was the end of the ball game. I was gonna tell you that. I routed first base and heading toward second, and I see that guy's butt going across that road.
Yeah.
He got the ball by the hedge trees there by the golf course.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you mentioned you hit a home run, but I've always heard as I've been growing up about the legendary long balls that you hit. Is that just him bragging, or is that the truth, guys?
It almost played on a hole number 1 for him.
That's the truth. He
Didn't play across the road.
Hit one in the park.
Skinny
he
could
hit
hit
a lot of balls onto the golf course, I'll tell you, and the whole,
Well,
like Pistol said,
Skinny
hole
could hit a
number
ball
one.
too.
This guy could hit a ball a lot farther than I
Oh,
ever
God, yes.
shot. And I'll tell you, he hit one time, out in right field. He was a left-handed batter, obviously, okay, he hit that sucker, I mean, it went over that hedge, onto the golf course, okay, I don't know when they even found it.
Now, I forget who, we was playing somebody up there in Springfield. And the right fielder, he got so far, we had to use binoculars to see him. Oh, that, he
You're wandering in on my story.
Cotton's faunching. It's faunching.
Okay,
Go right ahead, Ray.
I got a couple of stories on Zip.
Okay, good.
I didn't call him Zip, I called him Jimmy. Because I played third, he played short, and I'd pop up, he'd say, "I got her, Cot." I said, "You got it, yeah." A million times anyway. So we were at Taylorville, we're playing baseball. Now listen to this, this is what kid. We were winning the ball game 6-4 in the 9th inning. And they had the bases loaded, and they had this catcher, he weighed 300 pounds. Me and Zip, we'd make one leg each on him. That's how big he was. He was the batter, 2 outs. We were playing way back. He hit a high pop-up. I'm gonna tell you now, that was a major league pop-up. I started to fade back a little bit. Jimmy says, "I got her, Cot." I said, "Okay, Jimmy." It landed 20 feet behind you, and we lost the damn game. Gruber, old John Gruber was the coach. He's over there on his knees with his hat, beating it in her chest. Bang. Just raising all kinds of hell. That's John Gruber. Because we hated them guys so much. We knew them by their first names if we played them.
Yeah, and who was the team you were playing?
Taylorville.
Taylorville, okay.
And we knew the damn umpire. He was a crook too. That's why this big guy wouldn't call a ball on him. I mean, wouldn't call a strike on him unless it was right down the middle.
Wasn't the last name of that umpire wasn't Scott, was it?
No, it was.
Because they're 150 years old, I think, and
Demoskic was this guy's name. The Gruber knew him very well. But boy, that was a hell of a day. Okay, let me go on, because I got a lot of crap here.
good.
Okay,
We'll feed off of that.
this guy. You know, we had to call ahead, if we traveled out of town, we had to call ahead and they mow the grass because we couldn't see him.
Too short.
You know, went back in the cornfield somewhere.
Anyway, he was good, this old boy right here. He was a scat man. He batted first or second, him and Jim. And I was depending on them guys afterwards to get them in, you know.
And Zip played shortstop. Richard, you played
Center
Center
field.
field.
center field.
Yeah, we couldn't hardly see much of it. The grass was high, you couldn't see.
You know, you said something a little bit earlier in one of your stories about yo flat hander, okay? And flat hand and flat hammer. I'm sorry, flat hammer and hunk in.
Yep.
I mean, can you guys tell us a little bit about that?
The
Railroad track was
You-
divided.
Used to be the Illinois Central Railroad track was the dividing line between Hunk End and Flat End.
Right now, it would run through Ismo's, office.
Okay, yeah, the tracks would. Okay, well, with that though, I mean, okay, so you're a hunk ender or a flat hammer, okay, but what about the rest of the town?
We didn't know anything about them. We didn't get across Yellow Road.
Stay in your
We
own
stayed in our own territory.
territory deal.
Hey, this was a long time ago, Al.
Yeah,
Well, but hey, this is the first time hearing of this type of stuff. I knew of I couldn't even pronounce
Come on,
flat
I
hand.
gotta get going.
Okay, you go ahead.
We call that the hill.
yeah,
Never went up there.
yeah, we just called that the hill.
Okay.
Put your glasses on.
Charlie Lesko. Everybody knew him, right?
Right.
Who?
Charlie.
Charlie Lesko. He was really good at catching the ball, all in one motion, sending that and throwing the ball in. But what he was really good at was getting us in trouble.
I can see that.
He had a short fuse, and every damn argument, he started it.
Zip like Dave, shut up.
Yeah,
I see him come and run in, he played right field, softball this is. I see him come running in, and I'm looking at Zip, and we're going like this. And hell, ain't nobody gonna hit a one-arm guy, you know?
yeah.
He'd get us in a lot of trouble. I didn't like him too well. There we go, we're still going.
I'm sure you guys can handle your own.
I talked about Gruber in them 2 games. Well, another game over Taylorville. Joe Stupak played center field, Mike Hunt left field. Late in the ball game. You win it, well, right? The guy had a gapper between left and center. Stupak caught the ball and flipped to Mike. Umpire called it safe. Gruber come flying out of that goddamn dugout again, you know. To no avail, we got beat. But he did catch the ball, and on the cross, he flipped it.
Wow.
He called it, the umpire called it safe.
That wasn't a rule back then,
Like a
right?
riot, I'm telling you. Anyway, hang on.
Okay.
Birdseed.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a good scorekeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, he trained it real well, he could really read his writing. One time over at Colton, playing on the slack line, played baseball. I come up in the 7th inning there, and I'd already hit a couple good ones. And it was a close game, and I hit a line drive. You know when the first baseman plays off the base? It was to the left of him. Umpire called it a foul ball. Here come Gruber on that dugout again. And Bertowski jumped up, hit his head on a goddamn piece of pipe, and down he went. I couldn't forget that.
You know, it's funny because it seems like Pana athletes have that uncanny ability of doing that still. I remember Roger Cawthorn doing that.
Anyway, he jumped up. It was fair by 10 feet. Umpire called a foul ball.
Well, it might have been 6 inches back then. It's grown to 10 feet today.
Things change with time.
Well, one more, Red Volder, he used to pitch for us in baseball, left-hander. In Decatur, one Sunday afternoon, in that ninth inning, we was winning, no one was tied. They had a guy on third base, 2 outs. Red goes into his windup and drops the ball. A balk! Lost the damn ball game. You believe that? Man, we sat there looking at him like that. He's wind up, back here, he dropped the damn ball. Okay, I ain't done yet.
All right.
Your dad, he used to catch for us in baseball. Going down to Louisville, now this was late summer, 104 degrees, played a doubleheader. Your dad was catching. I bet you, I made 15 trips in there looking at him, to see if he was all right. But by God, he made that doubleheader. I took my hat off to him. Okay. You like this one. Played at Tram City. I didn't know this, but center field went down like this. I hit a ball in center field and got by him. And the damn runner kept disappearing, you know, pretty soon he went out of sight. I met rounded the bases, sitting on the bench, and here come that guy up out of it. At first, you know. I don't know where the hell he went, but I'm a slow runner. I rounded them bases, sat on the bench, and he finally come up out of there with that ball.
Probably the only one they had.
Might have been.
Okay.
It's obvious, Cotton, you did not prepare for this.
Huh?
All week long.
Go right ahead, big fella.
I believe that's
Oh, that's great.
enough.
Well, it's not enough. If you got more, we can come back to it. You can keep going.
I've covered.
Hey.
We'll have a second round, won't we?
Hey, yeah, we get.
But I can't say enough for these 2 guys, you know, I played with them forever.
1-2
And,
partner.
they were competitive, very, very much so. Wanted to win all the time. And that's good, because that's what we were out there for. And they were, gosh, he wasn't too fast on the feet, but he was. He was down in their lineup too. He was in front of the lineup.
You know, one of the, you talked about birdseed, and, I'd really forgotten all about him, so I'm glad that you mentioned him. Another person that, and maybe this guy came along a little bit later, okay, but, he's one that you can't let the memory of him go, and that's Billy B. And I don't know if you guys have any stories. Butch, you may have some stories about Billy B.
I got a bunch of stories about everybody.
I'm gonna have somebody, Billy B.
Do you want to, anybody want to share any on him?
Yeah, I got one about Billy B. He was telling when, what was that Burton lived out on
Warren?
Washington Street?
Warren Burton?
Warning?
No. Pappy Burton.
Pat
Burton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy was talking about playing softball and baseball and stuff to him, and he said, well, Bill, he said, I've got a story I want to tell you. He said, I hit one so far, landed in the swimming pool on Kitchell Park. Billy B kept telling that story to every place he go. He said a guy in Pana hit one and landed in the swimming pool, but it been about 800 foot.
And
Yeah, that's Billy B.
the stories I heard of him was giving sliding lessons there on the lot at the Texaco station.
They used to slide the station on the concrete.
They did it Shell too, didn't you? Yep. Mouthful of peanuts.
Some of you guys ought to talk about Charlie Buckley too, though.
Yeah.
Good one, too.
What's, Johnny, you gonna talk about?
Well, you go right ahead.
I don't know, I didn't know much about him.
You do.
Kasha, we'll just kind of go around and then we'll come back around if you guys want to come back around.
We're talking about Charlie Buckley. We started playing softball. This was softball back when I was in the 7th grade. They had a junior league, a junior softball league. and Charlie Buckley was our manager, and the only reason he was our manager was because it was during World War II. And Charlie Buckley used to manage an adult softball team, but the Pana Bank team. Most of his players went to the war, and so he started managing us as a younger group of guys. When his guys started coming back from the war, he just dropped us like a hot potato and started managing the Pana Bank team again, so.
What year would that have been, Josh?
Oh, I don't know. That
Way
was
back in the forties.
back in the early
Early
forties.
40s.
Early 40s.
Probably about the middle forties, yeah. I graduated high school 48, 7.
Yeah, and see me, growing up, when I was in Little League, I remember Charlie Buckley, okay, but Charlie was always out there working on the diamonds and he wasn't doing any coaching at that point. He just working on the diamonds, so I never even knew that part of him, that he even coached. So,
But Richard was talking earlier about these 17, and Cotton both about these 17-inning ball games, but one of the games we had was, in back of the Dutch Mill, they built a nice ballpark out there with a big wall around it and everything else. Put lights up and everything else, and they had an adult, pretty good softball team, and we weren't really real old, a bunch of guys, and we challenged them to a ball game one night. And we started playing, the game went 17 innings, and we won it 1-0, and how we won it was, Zip Dudra laid down a bunt, and he started running to first, and he never stopped running. He circled the bases, but bang, bang play at home plate, and they called him safe. In the bottom of the 17th, Francis Swin from Assumption was playing on his other team, and he tried to steal home. He got on third base somehow, and he tried to steal home. There's another bang, bang play, and they called him out, and we won the game 1-0. And it was one of those 17-inning games they're talking about.
bragging rights.
And they had like I said, it was an adult league, and we were just a bunch of kids really at the time. We beat them 1-0, 17 innings. So.
Pistol?
Well, I go back, well, I remember about Charlie, I was a little bit younger than these guys. Because we used to always look, and he used to have a, what was it, Mountain Way back then? Had an old Mountain Way, we'd sit coming, yeah, because he's the only one that had bats and balls for us to play with. He'd always bring us new bats and balls to play with and all that stuff for us. And he'd watch us and watch us, and that's where he picked these guys up. Out there watching all the honkies play and all that stuff. And like I said, I could go all the next day and a half talking about my buddy Zip, all the things I'd seen him do and everything else. And we used to play out there at the North School. And I'll never forget, we used to play, there used to be an alley there, and then right across from the alley was the telephone poles. And he was playing center field, and he went after this one ball, and on left field, he went like that. By the time he met that telephone pole. That's how he got one of his broken noses. All that stuff. Like I said, all the time, I could spend time and time. Another game, I don't know if you guys, if this is the same one or not, but like I said, I was mostly a bad boy back then when these guys were in their prime. And we played they played Caterpillar. At that time, they were world champions. Remember, Zabotsky was and he was Risty from Pana. He lived there across in Flathammer. He was on Lisbon Street.
Yeah.
Lisbon Street. He just barely
Right
made
on the
it.
edge, yeah.
Yeah. And he was the manager of that team and everything else. They were playing them out there at the Dutch Mill. And I think the year before that, or was that year, well, they were world champions, softball champions, Caterpillar was, and all that stuff. And these guys, Giffin, he pitched the whole 17 innings, and these guys got beat 2-1 in 17. And one of the best ball games I ever watched in my life with these guys. These guys were all, like that one picture you seen, you know, just, well, I don't know, what, 18, 19, not even that. And these guys were the world champions. And old Giffin, they used about 3 or 4 different pictures in that game. All that stuff. And I get, oh, go ahead.
When Giffin pitched, you were in the game.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Low scoring.
Yeah, he was tough. And like you said, he pitched the whole damn 17 innings.
Yeah, he pitched the whole thing at that time.
High That's the only pitcher we had.
Yeah, we never scored a lot of runs, but with him pitching, the other team actually didn't score a lot of runs either. So,
If you scored 2 runs, you won a lot of games back then.
yep.
2 or 3 to 1 and all that.
You know, it's funny how that works out with when you got that dominant pitcher. It just seems like the team never gives him a lot of run support. Maybe it's because they just got that confidence that, hey, Cotton just said, you're in the game. When Giffin was pitching, we're in the game. And it's funny how that type of thing happens. Seen that time and time again. Pistol, one of the things when we did this thing in September, I had a guy that was in there and was talking about your ability to get the ball from third base to first base. And he said, I got to remember this story. And he said that it took you had to throw it in such an arc to get over to him. Is that right, Kasha?
No, it's the other way around. He was the only guy that would throw the ball that would come straight across on the line. Now, when this guy used to play third base and throw, he
How he squatted when you knew the
he
ball. was
threw a
coming.
backup ball every time he threw the ball. Pistol would throw that ball and it'd just come on the line from third base.
What did you say, Richard? You just said something about
Kosh could tell, if you didn't see the game, but when the ball went to Cotton, Kosh went back to the bag to get ready, he'd squat because he knew that baby was coming like a bull.
and it was going to be moving, huh?
Yeah.
Burn his glove many times, especially those.
Kasha, you were left-handed.
bats, you know,
You were left-handed.
I was left-handed, yes.
He was left-handed all the way.
I'm still left-handed.
Yeah. Well,
And I'll tell you, there's nobody that strings Christmas tree lights any better than he does.
Well, I just want to tell one more good story about my buddy Zip. We used to play, in that Sunday league with the Springfield Light Company and all them, we had, and Dick Schofield at that time. Dickie, he spent a lot of time with the Cardinals, he signed with the Cardinals and all that. And I was playing second, Zip was playing short, and Dick Schofield's dad was the manager of their team and all that stuff. And Zip was making plays out of their squirrel and everything else, and he asked about Zip and everything else, and I tell you, like my opinion, I saw both of them play. The only thing that Dick Schofield had was just a little bit better arm, but he couldn't cover or hit the ball like Zip could. And as far and all that. And here he gets a $50,000 bonus sign with the Cardinals. It's on the bench for 2 years.
Is that why Zip was a Cub fan?
No,
We got-
and I know he got about 3 or 4 letters from the Cardinals and the Cubs to come to try out. I saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured Zip only made 2 mistakes in his life. And one was being a Cub fan. The other one was
He was a Cardinal fan.
he was a Card. Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't a mistake. I thought, he married a Cub fan. Is
He
what the
married
deal
a
was.
Cubs fan.
And she happens to be in.
Like I said,
In the
there's
game.
more stories I can tell about him and his ball playing and all that stuff. But I just wish I could carry his shoestrings as good as he was and all that stuff. So.
I saw.
And my buddy Larry Spinner there's another one. I tell you, he started out in center field when you were fresh, you remember? Old Merv. And talk about an arm. He had an arm. And at that time, like a gear and everything else, Merv says, well, Larry, because Merv knew he had potential, he says, you can make it to the major leagues quick being a catcher. So Merv made a catcher out. You remember that? And all that. Merv knew his business and all that. he gave us huskies or flat hammers or chins, didn't we, Larry?
Yes, he did.
He let us play and all that stuff.
He wanted to win.
Huh?
He wanted to win.
He wanted to win. That's why he chose us flat hammers and huskies. And I'll never forget one time. I'll just tell this on myself. Well, I was a freshman or shortstop and all that. He decided to put me as shortstop. Well, at that time, the ball weighed more than I did. Now I think I'm glad they don't keep statistics down there because I think I got the record for the most errors in one game at shortstop. 9.
I feel your pain.
Can you beat 9?
In one game?
There's sometimes I throw the ball and I could outrun it. No, we had a great time, didn't we, Larry?
Sure did, John.
Oh, last time did, all the hunking, Dad used to come to North School and used to have Cecil Andrus's house and garage and Walford's house, and he'd hit it over the house, and we all wanted Larry, we were looking for him to come all the time there, like. I'll let somebody else jabber, but that's, like I said, I can go on about Zip and all these guys.
Butch, we'll move to you. And you said you've got a lot of stories about a lot of things, and you're one of the younger guys in this group. So you watch these guys play, and maybe got a chance to play a little bit with them. Any stories that you wanna share?
Bat boy. That's back when,
He pitched against us too.
oh yeah, back
I
when Pee Wee,
remember the first pitch.
Pee Wee played too. Played Pee Wee,
Almost
Zip,
took his head off
Richard,
up the middle of
that was a long time ago. The only thing I can remember, we'd go out of town and play, that's when Charlie Lesko was playing too, we'd always go out of town and play games. Well, I can really remember having to call Mom and Dad to come and get me because the team stayed in the tavern and I need to come home. I was bat boy when I don't know how old was I,
Not very old, Butch.
a long time ago.
You made it early.
And I've got one picture I'll give you, I got one with,
I gotta see Gov.
Okay.
Giffin Bunch playing, I've got, Cully,
I got it.
old man Cully,
Yep,
Don Cully.
Don.
And Butch Branch. I got a picture of Willie B. when he was bat boy for him. That been, I think I was 17 when I started pitching for him. And I think I had to pitch for Richard's team because they only had 9 ball players.
Hey,
Hey, you're always looking for a
I
nice.
had to go back to town and look for somebody.
And Richard's not telling you all of it when he goes out and catches the ball and kind of goes in a hole, and that was his. I was there when he did that too.
I spent that night in the hospital. All injury in all them years.
What was that?
I fell in a gopher hole or something. They said you could hear my knee pop all the way into the dugout.
So you didn't have surgery or anything like that on it?
No, they just put.
They just
They didn't know what ACL was back then.
rubbed some dirt on it and said, get on back and play.
Yeah, they're lucky they knew what a knee was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I got an old picture for you with the old team.
Okay, I'd like to have that.
Can't find it, but Sarah's got it.
I will say that, Butch, I think you were the first fast pitch pitcher that I ever faced, and it didn't end up very well. It didn't very good. I was 16 years old when that happened.
Giffin showed me how to throw it behind my back, and I can still pitch behind my back and throw strike. And I'm getting old. I can't see it, throw it back, and somebody got to catch it. I can't see the ball, but other than that, I can still.
You're the king in his court then.
You what?
What was his name? Eddie, was it Eddie Feiner? Was king in his court?
King in his court,
Yeah.
2 players.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he had a catcher, he had a first baseman, and an outfielder. So,
That's been a long time ago.
yeah.
I'm not the youngest one here.
Well,
Larry, we're moved to you. You got any stories?
I don't have any old time stories like that, but I can remember when I was playing with Pistol, we had to get Pistol playing. I don't think Larry Spinner was with us that day, but we were gonna go over, play over at Florence. And so we're gonna leave early, because we're gonna go over there up the hill from the river. There's a nice little old pink building along the side of the hillside there, and they serve catfish. Pistol says, I don't like them catfish, I don't eat catfish. Well, we got up there, and of course, they had 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. And I think Pistol ordered the medium, he wasn't sure, but he didn't like catfish, but I don't know if you've ever eaten whole catfish like they serve over there. But Pistol was the first one to turn his over to get on the other side of the rib to get the meat.
I can't believe he was a hunkender and didn't like catfish. That's a,
There's a lot of fishing in there, we're not
That's-
fishing. Go ahead.
Another story, we was down at
at, I think it was Newton, and that's when Larry had got back home from playing professional baseball. And we dragged him along, and he got down there, and of course he left-handed batter, and out in the right field, there was a bean field out there where he played. First time up, he hit a home run. The second time up, he hit a home run. The third time up, I think it went over the fence too, and that umpire, that pitcher says, "Damn it, guy, is there anything you can't hit?" I still remember that over time and time again. And we played out here at the Kitchell Park, and Larry enjoyed it. He was playing shortstop, and my brother-in-law, George Clodney, he was catching. Rich Harbert was left-handed pitcher. Rich wound up and threw it, and George sat there on his haunches and called for a ball, and Rich threw that ball, and George just reached out there barehanded and caught it and flipped it back to Larry. I'll never forget, he turned his back to home plate, threw his glove flung up in the air, bent over laughing like you wouldn't believe. And of course, there was one time that I was pitching, and Brother Jack was playing shortstop, and they had a guy on second base. I don't know who we were playing, and we had a signal, and I turned it through the second base, and we had the guy dead to right, and Jack had his glove out there like that. He looked, he had that runner, took his eye off the ball. When he did that, he dropped his glove, and the ball hit him right square in the nose. Busted his nose. He ended up in the hospital in Springfield that night.
I was watching that game. My dad was umpiring it, and he was laying down on his stomach, and he says, "Roll him over. He's drowning in his blood." And I remember, did they bring the ambulance out for him?
No, Rob Harbert took him to the hospital in his '63 Ford convertible.
You talked. There's another couple names, three of them that you named: George Clodney, Rich Harbert, Rob Harbert. And I remember going and watching those games because my dad was umpiring those painted blue games. And I can remember the Harberts always going around and taking donations, taking a can around so they could pay the umpire for the day.
Of course, Denny played with that bunch, and I remember him playing third base and winding up and throwing the ball. I don't know who's playing first base now, but it was over their head several feet a time or two.
Was he as good as he says he was?
Oh, yeah. Getting back to Billy B, we played down at Newton, I think, or somewhere down there, and we went to the tavern afterwards, and we come out, and Billy B was with us, and bucked up, and here the chief of the police was there. "You got a guy in here by the name of Bill Bertowski?" "Well, yeah." "Well, by God, you better get him home. His mom just called here." To get him home.
And he got to the doorstep, and she probably beat the heck out of him.
And another time you talk about Charlie Lesko, the one arm, we were playing down in Albany, had a doubleheader down there. We played Saturday night and Sunday. And after Saturday's game, we went to the motel. We stayed down there all night. They had a swimming pool out there. We was all in there swimming. And Dick Deere, remember Dick Deere was there, and a couple gals were there in the pool. We don't know anyway. Charlie was saying, "Hey, I don't know how to swim. Can you teach me how to swim?" Dick Deere says, "Won't do no good. All you're gonna do is go around in circles." But anyway, that's just some of my old memories and stuff like that. Really enjoyed playing and stuff like that.
Sure. And you talked about your brother Jack.
Yeah.
Jack went on he had played some college football, didn't he?
He played college football, 1 year down in Western State, Colorado, Gunnison, Colorado. Yeah. And then he played baseball too down there. They played to get baseball, and he pitched a no-hitter against the Air Force out there when he was playing with Gunnison. But he could throw the ball pretty good too.
That's what I heard.
And he's down in a little town called Lakeview, Arkansas. And I think last week he had to have carpal tunnel on his right arm. Said messed up his pool playing and his golf. That's about all I've got. So.
Denny, you got any
Well, I'm a lot younger than these guys, okay? I never played with some of these old farts, okay? Because they were a little bit older than I was, but I played basically, right out of, well, I was just got out of high school, okay, just getting into SIU, okay, in Carbondale. But in the summertime, we never had any baseball down there, so I came up and played with Larry and Jack and
The Harvard.
Harberts and George.
Yeah.
And I think Kosh played some back in the sixties,
Yeah.
okay? This was in the sixties, okay?
Jim Rominger.
Jim Rominger. Larry played some in the sixties yet, as a matter of fact. So, I got to play with some of them, okay? I get to play with all of them, but I did get to play with some of them. But Larry was referring to, stopping at maybe a place of getting an adult beverage afterwards, Well, I had to just sit there and drink a Coke, okay, while they were all getting hooped up, okay, on the way back, okay? But it was a lot of fun, but I played just various positions wherever they need me, or wherever they need an extra man, because sometimes they wouldn't have 9 players to go, okay? So they'd call up the house and say, hey, we need one more guy, can you make it? And so I went and played, but when I was a little kid, there wasn't too many of them that made the major leagues, okay, from paint, okay? There was a few of them, okay? But there was a guy by the name of Mike Swingros. Remember Mike Swingros?
Oh, yeah.
And I was about this tall, okay, and out in Humpkin is where I lived, obviously, and right across the street from where I lived was Eula and Andy Swingros, okay? They lived right across the street from it there. So we would listen to the ball games, and Mike Swingros was pitching for the White Sox, and he was playing against the Yankees that day. And Eula she was high strung, okay? That was his sister. Andy was his brother. They both lived together. And we were listening to the game one day, and Mike Swingros was up pitching that day against Babe Ruth, okay? And they were all tight, like 3-3 or 4-4, something like that, whatever, okay? And Babe Ruth came up, Mike was pitching, and Babe hit one over the fence, okay? And the Yankees beat the White Sox 5-4, and as soon as that ball went over the fence, Eula fainted right there on the stump. Dropped to the ground, okay? We thought maybe she had a heart attack or something or whatever, And I was just a little kid, and I thought, oh, hell, did she die? Or what, but she just fainted, okay, just out there. I thought, wow, that's taking this game pretty serious, isn't it? But I tell you what, there's a lot of guys could hit the ball well, and this is one of them right here, can hit that ball a ton, I'm telling you. There's a lot of hitters, a lot of good hitters we had. Jack could hit the ball, Larry did a good job all the way around. As a matter of fact, I think you tried out for some camps, didn't you?
I had a tryout with the Pirates at one time.
He played well. But I've never seen too many guys. I mean, we played at North School. Everybody plays at North School in Humpkin, no matter who it was, okay? At some time in your life, you played at North School. But Bobby Dudra, okay, could hit that ball a ton, okay? Larney Havrilka could hit that ball a ton, okay? And would all see who could hit the ball either onto the roof of the North School or over the North School, one of the two, okay? We could all do that occasionally, okay, but I never played softball. This is all baseball talk, okay? I never played softball, I've never seen a guy hit one harder, farther, and more consistently than Larry Spinner.
Any truth to the rumors, Denny, that when they'd come over and ask you to play, that you'd come out and say, no, I can't today, I gotta go help my mom make kolache bread?
Well, there could have been a day like that, yeah. There could have been a day like that, yeah.
I don't know.
We made a lot of kolache, but, that could have been that day, yes.
Larry, a lot of people have been throwing accolades at you. You wanna?
I can't remember them.
You can-
Good to hear about it. Well, Johnny and I were together ever since he got kicked out of the Catholic school. We was at the North School together. We've been buddies ever since. And when we got to high school, it was the first year that they had the hot lunch program. Remember that, Johnny?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And I just loved to find John and sit next to him because he was the most finicky eater I've ever seen. And I'd get to eat his lunch. All he'd eat was bread and butter and honey.
Oh, he sat right there where all the bread and butter was.
And Cotton there, I think you got signed by the Boston Braves, didn't you? Did you go to spring training down at Myrtle Beach?
Yeah, I spent a month down there. Let me relate on that. 18 years old, and I thought I knew everything, see? I went down there, I could throw the ball and I could hit the ball. I couldn't run. Anyway, at the end of the 30 days, Del Rice was a catching coach. He wanted to make a catcher out of me. I said, no, hell, I'm going home. Then they wanted to send me to Kentucky to play semi-pro ball. I said, yeah, I'm going home. That's a young 18-year-old guy talking. Now, when I went into the Army, I landed in Korea. The old man, you always have to go in front of the old man, see? And he's reading your rap sheet. He says, "You're a ball player, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You wanna go play for the Army?" I said, "No." See what I missed up? I didn't take I didn't grab it. You know, run around. 16 years old. I was 21 and I was in the Army, but
What?
young guys just don't seem to take what's in front of them, you know.
That's
Don't come back, you don't get a second chance.
Oh, that's right.
exactly. I mean, nobody stops Father Time. He just keeps clicking on with you, and that's a good message for a lot of people. And I know, gosh, I wish I'd have had taken a couple other chances at doing a couple things when I was growing up, and I'm sure everybody does that. It's boy, when you take the advantage and try and make the most out of things, it's always there's maybe why do you do that? Maybe because you're being embarrassed that you're going to fail, you're afraid to fail, or what? I don't know.
Well,
But-
you know, young and horny and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there are more important things.
Huh?
Yeah, there are more important things. Yep.
Didn't Skinny also have a sign something? Didn't Skinny sign with somebody or have a chance?
I got it down.
Mike Reeves,
What relation was Snowball and Speedshot to you?
he played with the White Sox.
Snowball was my dad's brother.
Snowball what?
Peace was too,
They're both your dad brother,
yeah, and Jack.
and Jack. Well, Snowball and Speedshot, I'd always see out there sitting on the steps watching the ball game.
Big guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can't forget Johnny Dudra too, you know.
Oh, yeah, Boo Chuck,
Yeah.
Zip's
I-
brother.
Zip's brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked him up on the
He was
internet
the
the other
guy that
day.
got me the tryout down with the Boston Braves. Johnny did.
Yeah, Boo Chuck.
He played for us for a year.
He was a roommate of
Warren
Warren
Spahn.
Spahn.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Warren Spahn, yeah.
Yeah, he was roommate with Warren Spahn, all that stuff, when they played baseball, all that stuff.
I had a chance, but I just.
I know you did. Yeah.
You guys, we talked a lot about different people, and but one of the things that really, as you grow up in life, people have nicknames, okay? But it seems like you guys had the classic nicknames on those
Oh,
that
well, you
group.
had to have a nickname.
That group of guys. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about some of the nicknames and that maybe your favorite nicknames, or did you haven't Richard? What was your nickname?
I don't think I had them.
You didn't,
Yeah.
you're like, wow,
Everybody
you
calls him
just
Lord.
started calling Richie, Rich or
Yeah.
what, then we did
That's actually my middle name. My first name's Albert.
Albert, yeah,
They took when
it was
I'm
Cotton.
home from the hospital, I guess. Well, we didn't go to the hospital,
Yeah.
have babies then.
This is Kosh,
They called me Richard.
yeah, this is Kosh, and, well, they called me by everything.
Pistol,
Pistol, beaver, hoolock, polock, whatever you wanna call it, I have to do them all.
Hunky.
Hunky, all that stuff, but most of them called me Beaver. And my real good friends, I knew, they always called me Beaver. And in high school, I used to always sign, whenever I turn a paper in, I'd always sign Pistol. So that's, most of everybody knew, never did know my first name.
He was a
But
pistol.
we all had bears. All that, they'll be always calling the bear. All that, everybody had a nickname.
Cotton, do you have a nickname?
Yeah,
Do you have a nickname?
yeah, I did.
Well, it's
Cotton's
Cotton.
my nickname.
Cotton.
My right name's Don.
Don.
In case anybody doesn't know, everybody keeps asking me where I got that nickname, Kosh, and I guess
What's
That's
that,
what-
what's that stand for in hunky?
well, it really doesn't stand for anything,
How
but,
did I get you that?
used to be a guy in our neighborhood whose name was Bertowski.
Oh, yeah, Kyle, yeah.
And I used to call him, I guess when I was little, and I was a little tongue-tied, used to call him Kasha. And then all these guys just started kidding me about Kasha, and it turned into Kasha. And eventually the A got dropped, and now it's just Kosh. But anyway, that's how I got my nickname.
Where did the nickname Cotton come from, Cotton?
I was born with curls, man, blonde curls. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to change the story, but we were talking about a couple of guys that were at the last meeting that are not here. Jack Roebuck was one of them. And these guys were talking about choosing up sides and playing at the North School all the time. Oh, we used to play ball out there all the time too, and we used to choose up sides. And there was a girl by the name of Mary Thomas, they called her Toad Thomas. And one day Jack Roebuck says, how come she always gets asked or gets chosen before I do? And everybody said, well, because she's a better ball player.
Toad, yeah, we used to call her Toad. She was too.
Is that Yappy's sister?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yappy, young Yappy sister.
young Yappy's sister. Never, used to do a lot of things. Go out to, well, Maytowns used to have a little pond out there, way out there, by the slack pile, remember that? Used to play hockey out there and all that stuff, swim and everything else. And she'd be there playing hockey with us, whatever you wanted to do. Good playing with her and all that stuff. She's a toughie, all that stuff.
They have girls softball teams back then?
Huh?
They have girls softball teams back then?
Yeah, they had a girls softball team when I was growing up.
Yeah, Mary Rollo, that bunch were really good.
Pee Wee Dujik, used to be some spinners on it.
Julie?
Skinny's
Yeah,
wife, Julie
Julie.
Spinner, Skinny's
Yeah.
wife used to
Yeah.
play.
Not girls softball team.
Really?
No, I didn't have any of the girls
Yeah,
I
softball.
was in them, Julie and,
I got the
Yeah.
girls bowling
I
team.
think the guy that
Bonnie Wolf was
was,
the catcher.
That was a,
Yeah,
was a manager of this girls softball team, this crippled guy who worked for the
George Casey.
George
George
Casey,
Casey,
worked
yeah.
for the newspaper, Springfield newspaper,
Yeah.
I think, and he was the manager of the
He
girls
was.
He
softball
was.
team.
I figured, yeah, he went.
Dick Warren's wife, she was a player.
They had a bunch of good
Shirley.
girls.
Shirley
Butter
Warren.
Crawford.
Shirley Warren, wasn't it? Shirley?
Shirley Warren,
Shirley
yes,
Warren.
she was
Yeah.
a really good ball player too.
A guy used to play golf. His wife used to be a pitcher for that girls softball team. I can't think of his name.
Dave,
Used to play golf.
Guy who used to play golf, and his wife used to be a pitcher on that girls softball team.
And was it fast pitch then too?
Beg
The
your
girls,
Oh,
the
yeah,
girls
it's
fast
Never
pitch?
heard of slow pitch back then.
pardon? Yeah, there was no such thing as.
That was a Chicago game when we were kids. That's what they played up there, Chicago, big 16-inch
16-inch
ball.
ball,
Yeah,
yeah.
you talk about a girls' game, we thought, fast pitch or baseball, that stuff is all. They didn't even have gloves or anything.
Yeah, with the big ball.
Speaking of Larry, I thought you said last time or something about you didn't play softball because softball was harder to hit
Oh, I
than
couldn't hit it.
baseball.
No, I have to admit, I couldn't hit that.
Oh, he can. Yeah,
I don't know
Dudra
why.
was one of the best best all-around hitters I've seen him. Well, I didn't see him, especially in baseball. Zip could hit anything. We used to go up to the ice, on the railroad tracks and all that stuff, you know, and he'd cut a great big limb out of a tree or something like that, and use it as a ball bat, and I'd throw rocks. And, you know, throw him, and he'd bang, bang, and then, I mean, for a little guy, he could hit that sucker a ton and all that stuff. And Larry just could hit it, bam, all that. Yeah, I used to throw and duck, and all that with him.
This may change the subject, but I gotta tell this, you mentioned the Harbor twins.
Yeah.
Well, in high school, they looked a lot alike. I mean, they really were identical twins. And Henri, I mean, those two guys, I tell you, they would think of anything. They were on the track team, and it was what was it, a mile relay? And I think either Rich or Rob was the anchor man on it. I'm just hearing this, I didn't see this, but I heard it at the barber shop. Well, they got together, and one of them says, well, on the anchor lap, I'll go over and hide on the other side of the track underneath the stands, and when you get there, I'll run out and you give me that baton, and I'll take off for you. And they did. They did. I mean, one of them, they come tearing around there that, you know, he only had to run 220 yards, but they got caught. But they tried it. Oh, boy. That was something else.
Butch, we were talking about nicknames. Yours obviously is Butch. Where'd you get Butch from?
My brother. His name was Homer Eugene, they called him Bud. Mine's Edward Leroy, and they called me Butch.
Bud and Butch. Huh.
Been a long time ago.
And you talked about Lee Giffin being instrumental in talking and teaching you how to pitch. Okay, when did you decide that you were going to be a pitcher? I mean, is it just something, hey, I could do it?
When was that boy to you guys?
He was pretty young, that's all I can
Yeah.
remember.
Fine, her 50,
Oh, yeah, it was a long time, but sometimes Lee would show up, they wouldn't have enough ball players. And then toward the end of the year, Lee used to play a little bit, and we'd go, and that's when Outlaw and a few of the my age kids went to play ball, and Lee said, yeah, I'll be there, second game. Lee, he never showed up. And then we had a third game, well, Lee never, I pitched 3 or 4 games a day. Yeah, Lee was a little, there towards the end, Lee kind of gave up. That's where I learned how to chew, from Lee Giffin.
He chewed cigars, though, didn't he?
Oh, he chewed good. And he used to drink a little bit, not much. All of them did though, really.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them.
Larry, what was your nickname? Did you have one?
Not that I don't know one I know, everybody, they called Jim Jess, they called Jack Jess, and they called me and my brother Richard Jess, so that's the one I ever had. You know.
Why did they call you Jess?
Huh?
Because he's a dad.
His
Yeah,
dad?
yes, my dad, yeah.
And Steve, I remember Steve was 4 or 5 years older than me, and they always called him Jess.
Yeah, see, there's another, he's 15 years younger than I am, see, so there you are.
Yeah.
I managed him on the Little League. I went to managing by this time,
Oh, yeah.
but I had him and 2 or 3 of them other guys, like my son was on the Butch's team, the Cubs.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, I'll manage you, but it won't be the Cubs, I'll take the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And we won.
Denny, any nicknames for you?
When I was real young, okay, everybody in North End had nicknames, okay, but all the pastors had them, obviously, too, okay. My dad's nickname was Beck, okay, I used to call him Beck when he was young. These guys might not remember that.
I do.
So they used to call me Little Beck, okay, when I was young, but after you got into the Catholic school, well, the nuns wouldn't go along with that crap, okay, at all. So, you had to use your a given name, obviously, at that point. But every one of them had nicknames. George had Gibby, you know, everybody in Hunkin had a nickname. I remember Nazi Clodney, okay?
Nazi, yeah.
Yeah. His real name was Ignatius, okay, and they called him Nazi, okay?
Back in World War II.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
But I don't think there was a person out there that didn't have a nickname.
Yosko Dudra.
Yasko Dudra, yeah.
Let's go.
Shawn Bertowski, you were talking about Shawn Bertowski, you know?
Shine.
Yeah.
They all have nicknames.
I don't know where they came from, but everybody had to have a nickname for some reason.
And of course, your more current nickname on the, if you listen to any of the basketball broadcasts, is the Duke. So,
Well, I don't know if I walk like him or talk like him or what. But,
it's the mystique.
yeah, it's the mystique, yeah.
Yep.
But nicknames were prevalent. I think nicknames were prevalent in Flatham too, as far as that goes. I mean, I think everybody had nicknames back in that time frame, you know. But very seldom did they go by, you know, Albert Richard, okay, you know. Raymond, they wouldn't call him Raymond, you know, love him or not. Eli will smack him in the mouth.
Smack him, just threaten him.
Well, either one, but, you know.
See, was Skinny older than you, wasn't he? Yeah, he had his brother Skinny, called him Skinny, he was a heck of a catcher. And, you know, where the park is there at the Diamond, he hit a ball all the way to the softball backstop
Yes, he did.
and all that stuff, and he got through out third.
You're saying he was fast, fleet of foot, huh?
Hey, Dad, how did Birdseed get his nickname?
I don't know.
Nobody knows?
Nobody knows. That's all I know. He's always, everywhere you see him on his
He
bicycle.
had a comment there, his name was Bill.
Bill,
Right.
Bill. Worked out pretty finely, didn't he?
Bill Buds.
Bill
Yeah,
Buds.
Bill Buds,
Yep.
Birdseed Buds.
Yeah.
Oh, Buds is his last name.
Buds.
Well, that's
He worked at the Fridays,
interesting.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Huh?
He worked at
Yeah,
the
one
Fridays.
Friday, he used to ride his bicycle all the time, everywhere he went. Yeah, you know that.
Larry, what was your nickname?
Oh dear,
Did you-
Bears.
Bears.
Bears?
I don't know where that came, well, I think Cotton's younger sisters, Dee and Bernice, I think that's where they come up, I don't know how that was, I hated it. That's why they kept calling it, because I had kind of a temper, and they teased me, they used to call me Henry also, and that would, one time, you don't remember it, but it was a little comic strip, Henry, he was a little bitty bald-headed kid, always getting in trouble. And so they started calling me Henry, and of course that made me mad. And so I ran and told my mom, I said, Mom, they keep calling me Henry and I don't like it. So Mom says, all right, you kids, now you don't call him Henry anymore. If the next time I hear Henry, you're all gonna get in trouble. So she went back in the house and they says, that means Henry. So they didn't say anything, but they'd go. And then I get mad and then, you know, of course, I didn't have any proof then. But, yeah, that,
One of the things when we did this in September and if you got other stories, you think about them, please mention them. But one of the things we asked the people there, a couple different questions. One is, who is your, not, we're going to ask you who is your favorite baseball player growing up, and who was the best baseball player that you think of all time. Richard, you got anybody that sticks out in your mind?
I like this catcher the Cardinals got right
Yadier Molina. As one of your all-time favorites, or one of the, okay. Who do you think is the best all-time baseball player that the first guy always is the toughest, and then everybody else, you get somebody else, oh yeah, you don't want to jump on that bandwagon.
now. I don't think I really had a out-and-out best ball player. I think I just like the individuals.
Okay. Cotton, how about you? Who was your favorite?
I was born a Cub fan. So Ernie Banks.
Ernie Banks, and who do you think is the best ball player of all time? Who's that?
One of the gas.
One of the gas house gang?
Those games. Them guys are no equipment players until they got in trouble.
I don't really know.
Kosh,
I'd say Stan Musial and Stan Musial.
your favorite and the best ball player. That's a pretty good
In fact,
choice.
I met Stan once. I was fortunate to be in St. Louis. He used to have a restaurant, Stan and Biggie's Restaurant.
Yeah.
And I ate there one time, and Stan Musial came around and was introducing himself to everybody. And we were sitting here, and I actually got to shake hands with him, and that's really one of the thrills, I guess, of my life or something. He played first base occasionally too, and he was left-handed, so I guess that's probably another reason.
You know, I had a friend that gave me after Stan retired from baseball, he made a hitting album. It was a vinyl album. And I had a friend that gave me this vinyl album. And then there were some illustrations, and I looked up on the internet, and it's very interesting to see, to look at it and listen to his philosophies on hitting. So, Pistol?
Well, I had two of them. I had Stan the Man and Ernie Banks was my two favorite, because I started out being a Cardinal fan, then when I was working up Joliet, I got to go to a lot of Cub fans. That's when Ernie was going there, and I got to, shake hands with him going down third base or something and all that stuff, and I was his fan. And like I said, there were so many. We all got to see Joe DiMaggio, Willie Mays, Robinson, all those guys, and it's just hard to pick, to me. But I used to like Marty Marion at shortstop. Red Shanies was one of my best. And we used to call Larry when I used to play with Kid, call him the third baseman. Was Kakowski or whatever his name that played third base for the Cardinals back then. We used to call him that and all that. But
Karowski?
White Krosky and all that.
White Karowski.
White Krosky used to be third base, and then go Larry that when I watched him play. But them were my two favorites. Not only were ball players, they were gentlemen. And all that. Real gentlemen. Because I never forget, Charlie Lesko, we used to call him the Stove. He didn't care.
Another nickname?
And he used to be good friends with Ken Hobby all the time. And he was pitching for the Cubs this one Saturday afternoon.
Glenn Hobby.
Glenn Hobby, yeah, Glenn Hobby. And we had to go pick him up that Saturday afternoon after the game, bring him back to Whip. And like you said, he was pitching always pitching a shot going at the bottom of the ninth, 1-0. And Cardinals got a run on base, and George Crowe was a pinch hitter and hit a home run off him, beat him 2-1. So he wasn't too happy after the ball game. Well, at that time, I'm still trying to think of the right fielder for the Cubs. He was leading the league in the hitting at that time and all that stuff. We was waiting for Glenn to get out. I waited for the ball players, and everybody, Ernie was signing, everybody was signing autographs, and this young center fielder started walking there, and Ernie said, "Hey, get back here, these kids been waiting for you for a long time, you start signing them autographs." And he went around the head, all that stuff. But like I said, and I know a lot of instances, like Bud Broyer and them, they'd see him at the hotel with his family, he'd shake hands with them, and all that stuff. And I had my oldest grandson at that time, wrote him a letter, and he answered my grandson back and all that stuff. I mean, they were gentlemen, and all that stuff.
So who was the best baseball player?
Oh, gee,
that you know of?
I saw so many of them. It's just hard, like you said, usually used to play at outfield and first base, and I liked Shaney's at second, and I saw DiMaggio and Willie. Well, Willie was pretty good. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, I know before we finish up here, I know one guy's going to say a name that I haven't heard yet, but anyhow, we'll Butch, who is your favorite baseball player?
Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson. And who do you think was the best ball player of all time? You don't necessarily
He's
need
still
to.
catching now, I think, for the Cardinals.
Yadier. Wow. That's a good testament. Larry, how about you?
I'm going along with, well, I thought Bob Gibson was one of the better ground ball players, you know, but I don't know who the best ball player would be.
Who would be Bob Gibson would be your favorite?
Well, favorite, one of the favorites, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I said, who would be the best all around, I couldn't tell you. So I didn't see that many of them, but, you know.
Okay. I'm hesitant to ask this guy. Denny, who's your favorite?
Well, the favorite player, and these guys will know him, you might not know him, okay? His name was Nelly Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I never saw him play, but yeah, I'm a baseball card collector.
Yeah, little
Have to
something.
know him.
Right. Always had a big chew in his mouth, okay?
It was bigger than him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was bigger than him. Nelly
Killed
Fox.
him too.
Huh?
It killed him too.
It did, yeah. He died of cancer of the mouth, okay, but it was, he always had that chaw in there. But he was, like John said, a real gentleman too. You never heard him get in any trouble. I mean, you've seen some of these players, you know, like, no one's talked about Mickey Mantle, okay? Mickey Mantle liked his extracurricular activities, okay? But you never, Nelly Fox, you never heard anything bad about him at all, okay? But some of the players, you know, not current players I'm talking about, but older players, had some bad habits besides, I don't know how they did it, okay? I don't know how they could go out most of the night and then play ball the next day. But they did. So they're pretty tough. You know?
Babe Ruth.
Yeah, Babe Ruth, same way.
Oh, yeah.
So,
George Herman liked his beverages, okay?
so who do you think is you have an opinion on who you think the best baseball player of all time is?
Oh, that's a question you could ask 100 people, you get 100 different answers
Yeah.
probably.
Well, I'm asking Denny Pastor though. What's Denny Pastor say?
Well, basically, I'm gonna say Ernie Banks, okay? I don't see too many players that have outshined him during his career.
With all due respects, I disagree with all of you at this point, but anyway, that's my opinion. I'll tell you in mine in
Well,
just a
like I said,
minute.
everybody would have a different opinion,
Yeah.
you know, if you ask 100 people.
Larry,
Well, what?
who is your favorite?
My favorite, Yogi Berra.
Oh, God, yes, forgot
See?
about him.
Yeah.
Yogi Berra, I was signed by the same scout that signed Yogi.
Yeah,
So, I kind of felt a little connection there, you know, to him, and he was another real gentleman, you know, and actually the scout, gee, I'm having trouble with his name now, gee, John. But anyway, he kept telling me that he signed Yogi, and I didn't really believe him. In fact, I never did believe him until I read the book Yogi, and in the first chapter, it told how he was signed, and I'll be darned, there was the guy, John Schulte, sorry, John, God rest your soul, man. But I made a mistake by not believing him, because Yogi was from St. Louis, he spent his off seasons down there, and if I could have made a connection there, I think Yogi would have helped me a lot in my weaknesses that he definitely didn't have. So I pick him.
Okay, what about your best ball player of all time?
Well, as Babe Ruth,
That's
he hit most home runs. He hit 60 home runs, and I understand that it was more than the rest of the league hit that year. And he was also a pitcher. He had World Series records that lasted clear up into the 50s, 40s, 50s, maybe 60s. So I think it was him.
one last question, or story I'd like for you you told the story in September, and I think it's an interesting one, and it was about you in spring training or something, and had maybe a coach there or something that you didn't like or something like that. Do you want to share that one, or?
It's a long story.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I'll make it as short as I can, but anyway, this Spud Chandler was his name. He pitched for the Yankees in the 40s, and quite a big record, you know. And this was 54, so he finished his major league career in the late 40s, so he wasn't too long out of the majors. And he still had some really pretty good stuff, and we just went to spring training. Nobody knew anybody, and we all had our uniforms and had our big number on the back. That's all you went by, the number. And the team I was on had about 3 or 4 catchers, and he was pitching, and it was his team. You know, he had probably, I don't know, 40 or so guys in the spring training, and he had to cut it down to, you know, in 6 weeks he had to cut it down to the traveling team, you know. So they just let you go in, and if you wanted to go in, you just go in and say, I'm catching this inning, you know, and you can catch that inning, and next time another guy would catch. And there was 2 or 3 guys that caught, and then I says, well, I'll catch the next inning, and I went in there, and there was no signals. I mean, the guys that come to bat, and old Spud, he had a real major league curveball, you know, and I mean, you had to be on the ball to catch that thing. So a couple of them came in there, and I caught it, and then I said, this is crazy. So I went out to the mound, and I said, hey, Spud, why don't we have some signals here, you know, so we know what's coming? He says, if you can't catch an old timer like me, you don't even belong here. Get back there and shut up. I said, that's the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard come out of anybody. And he was my manager, you know. Well, from that time on, he didn't like me at all. I mean, I really had a rough time my first year. And he always put me on the bench. And my buddies at that time were Russ Nixon, you know, he played 20 years in the majors, and he managed the Atlanta Braves, and he had a twin brother, Roy, and we ran around a lot together. And my Gold Dust twins, they called us, was a guy by the name of Bill Dashner from Oklahoma. We were always together. And I just could not break into the starting lineup. I was signed to Jacksonville Beach, and we went to Jacksonville to play the Jacksonville team. They were in the Sally League, Class A, we were a Class D club. It was an exhibition game. And I was sitting on a bench, and it comes down to the 9th inning, and I hadn't gotten in the game yet, and we were getting beat, and he ran out of pinch hitters. He was the lousiest manager you ever saw. Anyway, comes down to the 9th inning, he needed a pinch hitter, and he didn't know, he was